What's up, everybody? My name is Peter Deltondo, and I am joined here by the super talented Alex Bustos. We are really excited to jump in to a new project today. And before we start telling everybody what's going on with that, I see like an emoji firestorm in chat right now. I don't know what just ended from Andrew's stream, but whatever it was, I love the energy. I mean, I'm seeing, let's see, we've got Lucy and Mayan, Chris, Tracy, Andrew, my good buddy. Thanks for tuning in and sticking around, brother. Lots of folks. You are popular. We are ready to just kick this off today.
Awesome. That's what I like to hear. I want an emoji firestorm just like constantly.
All the
All the
time. All the time.
that sounds fun, whatever it is.
Yeah, the hype is going right now. Did you guys like end with chat to win or something? This is crazy. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. We have a full day planned. So if you have not yet checked things out, make sure you stick around for a lot of cool things. We are going to be following up with this stream. Howard Pinsky is going to be doing the Adobe XD Daily Creative Challenges, followed by Alice Lee, who's an amazing illustrator and muralist with a new series called Doodle Therapy. So super fun. And then you can check out all these other talented folks again tomorrow following up their stream. So lots of exciting things. Andrew's doing the Illustrator DCCs. Good times. Good times. Well, Alexis, if you can, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do and walk us through what you're going to be creating today?
For sure, for sure. Just wanted to throw out doodle therapy, by the way. Just can we just take a beat? That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
um, that's awesome. I'm Alexis Bustos. Maybe some of you guys have seen me before. I'm usually, well, now we're on screens and we're talking heads, but I'm usually in the other hot seat. I'm usually a host for a lot of these live streams. So shout out if you guys, remember me. It's been a while. But basically, I'm a designer. I'm an interaction designer. I work for a company called Star. We are a group of product designers and engineers and strategists, and we work as a consulting firm for a lot of tech companies, startups, you name it. Um, can you see my screen right now? Just
We are you going to share via XD or something else?
yeah, I'm on XD right now.
All right, let's switch over to your screen here. And yeah, there we go.
Awesome. So yeah, I just, we have a little intro slides. I'm trying to do this thing where when I tell a little bit about myself as a practice, I'm going to try to do it without any text on my screen. So my name's Alexis. This is a photo of me as a baby. It's very cute. As a kid, I was very into anything creative, and obviously the bunny costume, I think, lends to that. You've probably seen it before on my other streams. A little bit more intro. I'm really outdoorsy. I used to work for a slew of nonprofits before I got into visual design and UX and all that work. So this is me in a different life. Just some basic things about me, because I feel like there's a wall, especially with designers and designers featured in channels like Adobe Live. There's a wall around us that are like, oh, maybe we're like a little untouchable, we're like a little up there. It's like, no, we're just normal. And I just wanted to normalize myself a little, just like everyone else. I feel like I'm right in the middle. I've kind of hit that hump over being a beginner, and I really feel like I'm diving into my craft more. So love to travel, play in a band, XYZ. A little bit.
What kind of music are you guys doing? That's awesome.
Oh, nice. I'm glad you asked. The name of my band is called Subpar, so don't expect anything too big. We do post-pop psychedelic funk, so it's our excuse to just be loud. And I mean, again, subpar, so you don't need to look us up. But it's fun to do that. Before my Adobe Live life, where I started my journey with UX design, specifically in interaction design, was actually at a school called California College of the Arts. They have a program called Interactive Design Program they're in interaction design. They have a BFA and an MFA, and it kind of lends into their an MDes as well. So if you're looking for higher education around interaction design, UX design, product design, I recommend checking out California College of the Arts, especially if you're Bay Area local. There's a lot of different paths there. But what I like to take away, why I like to bring this up is because the biggest thing that happened for me there, not, yes, I learned more about UX design and design research and all those good things, but what really happened for me at that school or doing that was I found my tribe. So
Hmm.
that's the thing I kind of talk about a lot on previous streams, on just in general. You as a designer can only go so far on your own. Like you really can't do anything without a community around you. And so by going to doing a formal program, because a lot of designers are self-taught, by
Right.
doing a formal program, my biggest takeaway is the tribe I was able to create. And
That's good to hear.
because of that, I mean, we're still locked into each other's networks to this day. We have side projects together, as well as we have our own jobs. Many of these paths and places we've gone, we've taken each other along the journey. I think you guys would recognize Julian Crespo.
Yeah,
He's
I was gonna say like I Twitter avatars here are coming at me.
yep, yep. Julian Crespo is one of those tribe members I had back from my interactive design program. So there's a lot of debate around formal education, learning on your own. I don't think, at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter where you're learning as long as you're able to form a community. So
Yeah.
Adobe is a great place for that, which is why I'm so happy to be a part of it, especially for a lot of new designers. But anyways, that's my little college. Go get your degree spiel.
Yeah.
Um, and then, right after, around another fun fact, I've done some Adobe Lives in my day. I think I've hosted a couple of guests, some really fun ones. Everyone actually has been a blast. Peter, I'm sure you can say being a host is like,
So
oh my,
everybody, the whole Adobe team is amazing. They're just the best people in the world, and you get to meet so many incredible people. Not just the person that you might be hosting or working or hosting you, because I'm like you, I've been in both sides of the seat. But getting to know the other people that are doing the Photoshop or Illustrator streams, it's cool to go hang out. And I miss those San Francisco trips because it's fun getting to sit down and break bread with people.
absolutely, absolutely. It really is. It's like own wonderful community of people. And yeah, not just in your own discipline. Like shout out to Weekend Creative. They'll be hosting, I think they're hosting or guesting, I'm not sure, or both. I'm not sure, but on Wednesday. And like they're in the Photoshop stream. We just met in the green room a couple of times. So again, back to finding your tribe, and was lucky enough to come on to Adobe Live and do some hosting, and now guesting right now. So I'm not nervous at all. You're right. And then, just my day to day. A lot of people think that interaction design is and UX design is specifically on a screen. And when I like to show these photos to kind of explain what I do on top of all of that. Yes, you're in front of a computer. You're doing a lot of interactive design work. Your visual design work. It's all on a lot of it's on your computer to formalize it. But the beginning process of anything creative happens with pieces of paper, people, sketches. And so I like to put these in as another thing that I do. So this is what I do day to day at work. Obviously, I'm not with people in rooms right now, but hopefully one day. Yeah. And along with that, I mean, I think it's really important. A big part of my design ethos is where our people are, like, who is it? Who is this
Yeah.
for? It's basically the reason I switched from like graphic design to UX. There was a piece missing in my process that I was yearning for, and thankfully in UX, user-centered design is the main focal point. So
Yeah. It's a
yeah,
fun challenge. It's like putting together a puzzle and there's a ton of pieces, and that's always my favorite part of those projects is like you can't just sprint out a solution and not have all of these things in mind because you've got to design it for the right person. You've got to think and empathize and put yourself in those shoes and do a lot of studying to come up with those right solutions. And I think that's why I liked UX design or UI UX design specifically, is because there had to be reasoning behind everything. I got frustrated when I used to do like brand design or illustration because it's so much like I like it or I don't like it, where there's there's reasons behind everything, and it's fun to figure out those reasons and pitch that as part of selling your design along with the visuals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's so much of the legwork at the beginning, at the front, and I think we get a lot of we see a lot of beautiful projects come out on Behance, on people's portfolios, and they're wonderful. And maybe they work
Yeah.
half the time, maybe they don't. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, we're creating, we're making. It's all about just the process. But I've noticed, and I'm sure you've noticed too, Peter, the best projects are the ones that have that research element, that have that backbone of creative thinking, and
Yeah.
that and you don't get to see that. It's like what's the podcast? 99% visible.
Hmm.
Like so much you don't see
Yeah.
behind the scenes. So what's one thing that's I wanted to kind of bring into the stream today is showing what I'm doing to create these images. How am I interacting and collaborating with people that aren't designers, and how am I doing my research without talking to a person in person,
Yeah.
observing what they're doing. Right. So I'm going to try to bring that into
Yeah.
Adobe XD. And I think actually XD is like the perfect platform for cooperation and working together. So,
Especially now with live collaboration, like as we are here, I'm actually in this file with Alexis, and so at any point like we could jump in and be working on things side by side. So if you're working with teams, if you're even bringing clients into your projects and files, XD is now a tool that can do that. And so I'm really excited to see more additions to the live collaboration feature that they've got going on. There's a lot of cool possibilities with this.
me too. I'm really excited. And, sky's the limit for so many design tools
Yeah.
with this collaboration feature. Quick question, can you see this? Can you see this as full?
Yeah, I can.
Sweet. Great, cool. I could have done that with the last couple slides, but what are you gonna do? All right. So let's take a beat. A lot of things I just said about myself. It's important to know yourself as a designer, great. But let's jump into the kind of the project and the meat and potatoes of why we're
Yeah,
here.
let's do it.
Yeah. So I like to kind of give a spiel around like what are we doing for the next 2 days so that we can, if you're interested, you can stay, whatever. So for me as a designer, I think as an early designer, a big part of a big something that I always think I'm improving on, something that was always kind of stalling me, was the start. Like, where do I start? Where do I start with the project? Where do I start with the design? Where do I start? Just overcoming that hump of and how does someone else do this? You see a lot of designs, maybe you're intimidated, maybe you're just starting to be a designer. These could be I'm seeing a lot of that. And actually, I'm also a mentor on Discord. So, chat, come
Yeah.
find me. Maybe I've already reviewed some of your designs, but a lot of people have been messaging me actually. And the big one, a question I've noticed a lot, one of many is, how do I get started? Like, I'm new to design. How do I get started? So that's kind of been ringing in my head around this whole thing.
Yeah.
So there's design, starting a project, and then there's design, starting a design.
It's a good distinction. Yeah.
I want to talk about starting a project because, again, like we said earlier, the strongest products, the strongest even designs have that 99% that you can't see. And so it's important to know where to start with those. And there is a formula. You know what I mean? Like, it's obviously we're creatives. We can do whatever we want, but there is a formula that kind of works to get your project started.
Yeah.
We can talk
Well,
about that.
and as we do, I'm gonna jump screens really quickly over to mine, because if you have not yet joined us, make sure that you jump in and become a member of the Adobe XD Discord community group. Again, just some fantastic people. Alexis is one of the mentors over there. I'm in there. We've got Matt Ray, Tim Mobest, Melody, just a ton of great folks here. And I want you to be familiar if you come over here and check out these different challenges. The current challenge, if you stick around for Howard's Daily Creative Challenge, is where you're going to be posting those videos. Make sure to tag the mentors that are actively on that week, and they'll be in there and give you feedback on those designs. And that's super, super helpful. And give feedback to others as well. Let them know what you think of their designs, and you'll see those people will jump in and share their feedback with you as well. Another thing that I would encourage is jump in, and Alexis, I think you have access to this now, is go check out the pro tips channels and see. We try to post cool things about like 8 pixel grids and why they're awesome, or accessibility, or different things that will help you level up. And this is just an amazing resource and hub to get involved in. So I highly encourage you check that out and join in if you haven't. And we've got a couple more announcements, but right now let's jump back into the project, and Alexis will kick us off here.
I mean, I agree with all of that. And I mean, plug on plugs. I mean, that's the beauty of these streams, is that you can kind of stumble upon these and find your tribe, like we were talking about. Amazing mentors up there. There's some good stuff going around. Cool. Right, so we're gonna start. And so today we're gonna do I'm gonna show you some design research that I've kind of started to do with this project. I'm gonna show you how I've captured it on XD. So again, we're gonna do some research. We're gonna, it's fun. I love research. Peter, do you like research?
I do. It's the backbone of everything. Otherwise, the client comes back and they say, I don't like it. And you have no ground to stand on. So the research is what backs you along the way. It's really important.
Exactly. Love it. Okay, cool. So we're research fans here. Cool. Right, then we're going to do some wireframing of these concepts. So, you get the vibe. We're going to sketch and sketch some more.
We're going to have like a proper process.
We're going to have a proper process. I think at the end of it, I think it's helpful. I think it's important to show that it's not pretty, but tomorrow we'll get pretty, and we'll do some really awesome things with day 2. We're going to design and creation. We're going to make those sketches look good. We're going to work on some tone and copy. That's another thing I've noticed. A lot of newer designers, it's hard to write in what you're trying to say, how you're trying to express yourself with your project, what literally is going to be said in the. We're going to talk about copy. We're going to apply a design system, and I'm going to pick, and I'm going to show you how to apply it. We're going to play with some features of Adobe Stock, XYZ, maybe do some rough prototyping. That's day 2. So day 1, again, let's do some research, and let's talk about it. So let's do this one. So I think you guys have noticed. So this is something that's been on my head, and this is so I think the first step here we should talk about is finding a space you're interested in and where the beginning of your project is going to be. So a focus. Right now, what I've done is I just took a beat and tried to look around and see what problems, what pain points am I having, friends, family are having, the world. So obviously that, this kind of has been pinging around my head. There's been a shift in our work-life balance. We can see that. And so this question that kept kind of coming back is, how can we care for our mental health now? So again, so I have this, so this idea has come from me kind of taking a beat, looking around, but also just kind of like allowing myself to be free with my thoughts, allowing myself to kind of throw out random ideas, conceptualize it. How can, and this is the time to be like fully creative with that question, because then that question is going to help you iterate continuously along the way. So there's my like big heady question for you. And then I want to focus our designs all around that. At the end of it, these are sneak peeks. These are just like obviously very sneak peeks. Maybe we'll come into a space around meditation, wellness. Maybe we'll talk about the playlist. Maybe this is the end for us, but we're not there yet. We don't jump into the solution. We're going to go into
right.
So one thing, actually a term that I kept hearing when I was like reading and looking around was Mindful, obviously, mindful is a buzzy word. Meditation, mindful meditation. Okay. Mindful existence. Got it. Okay. So we're talking about our headspace. We're talking about that type of stuff. And what I did is I just like threw it, I like word vomited on a piece.
Hmm.
I just like literally threw up words on a piece of paper that all have to do with this buzzword, mindful meditation. Is it daily? I want to de-stressing,
Yeah.
therapy. I got out to friendship, less work. What helps us de-stress? Um, all these just random thoughts and occurrences, and I let myself do that. And mind mapping is a technique that like we can use, and it's
Right.
been tested, and do it, and it's okay that look how messy it is,
Yeah.
like an A-type person, which I can be towards the end of the process, would be like, this is very, I do not like this, but it's a part of it, and so I wanted to show my honest space around it. One thing that I've done in XD while I've been working throughout this project is trying to make it feel like a board that I would do this with. So if I was at work, I would have a big whiteboard or something in front of me, or a big wall that I could throw Post-its up. XD allows me to kind of have that space if I just,
Yeah.
get a little creative with it, right? Like maybe I make my own Post-its. I even made them the color that I normally use because I was like missing a big space with Post-its on it. It helps me visualize. Whatever you want to do, obviously, is your process, but this is mine. So you can
Yeah.
take a note, take a beat.
We live in a beautiful age where, I mean, you take a snapshot of a whiteboard on in the office, you throw that photo from your phone into XD, and then, like you said, you've got the digital post-it notes that you can add in here, and it's great. And again, back with team collaboration and co-editing, you could come in here with a group now and like really put something together, even from distance, as we are remote, be able to bring people in and go through voting exercises and things like that. It's super cool that we could do this. It's a beautiful time to be alive.
It is so cool. It is so cool that we can do this. And it's funny, like we do these things because I did it because I missed tangible pieces of paper. So it's people do these things for different reasons, right?
Right.
Let's see. Right. So, okay. So that was my mind map. Kind of just threw up. And I wanted to kind of talk about some other different research that you could do right now in this process, even just if it's a simple project of just you, maybe you don't have a team, which for the most part, if you're starting, it's just you.
Yeah.
Don't think that you need to be like this expert at research to do research. One thing I did was I talked to some friends. I talked to family. And I asked 3 questions that I thought were really kind of poignant. How are you keeping your goals? What are you doing to self-motivate? What's the best habit you have? And what's the worst habit you have around work from home? And I accumulated their answers, again, like on a little post-it board. We have things like setting aside time, work deadlines, help me keep my goals, lots of lists. And then we kind of talked about the best habits, worst habits. So hopefully at some point I can extrapolate from this and I can pull like this concept. Maybe I can bring it into my design. Maybe I can pull it into a feature that I'm going to be creating. Or what I like to do is I like to throw everything on the canvas and then rearrange them, which we can do. Maybe not, but we can do. And then I like to find like insights from all of those. And then those are the things that guide my product.
Yeah. I love that we're getting into this. And for those of you that are like, I want to see the designs, this is so important because this really is what the process looks like. And you hear those things of like, how long did Instagram spend on, I forget the specific screen, but there was something or like a process of, and it took like 3 or 4 months to design these 3 or 4 screens. And there's so much that goes into this stuff. And that's why sometimes when you have clients that are like, it's 2 screens, how hard could it be? It's like, well, the ramifications of getting this wrong are very, very important. I mean, if we mess this up, this could cost you tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars. We have to ensure that we are in sync and doing this. And you mentioned, don't be afraid if you're not an expert yet or feel like it. And really and truly, most of us, for most of the projects that we work on, it might be the first time we've ever worked on something in that field or industry.
Mhm.
So what, in my opinion, makes us experts is that we know what questions to ask, when to ask those questions, and how to guide and facilitate our users or our clients to a path that gets us to the answer that we need. So that's what's really important. And that's what I want you all to focus on here as well, is pay attention to like how we get to some of these things and think through how you can reverse engineer some of these questions to maybe projects that you're working on, because that's what's going to make you an expert, not being super familiar with a particular industry.
Yeah, that's, I mean, you're absolutely right. It really is important to showcase this. And do you think, I actually wanted to ask you, Peter, like, what is your tip for a new designer? Because I feel like for me, it's very much like trying to explain this process and being like,
Mm-hmm.
you just need to be tight in this process. Visual design always will come. That's a practice. That's like
Yeah.
running over and over again, right? But this process is what I try to express. What do you say to new designers when they're like, what should I be getting good at? How do I start?
Yeah, I think conversationally and going back to just asking questions, um, a lot of designers, whether it's because we're introverts or whatnot, um, I'm somewhere in the middle of introvert and extrovert. I like turn it on when I need, but I'm largely introverted. Is not being afraid to ask questions. So many people are afraid of looking like you don't know an answer,
Mm-hmm.
but there is nothing more that shows me that you know what you're doing than saying, I don't know. I've never seen something like this before. Let's walk through it together, and asking the questions to get the solutions that you need. That's something I typically see junior designers don't ask questions, and they just kind of like hope they get it right, or rely on somebody else to give them the answers. And it's the senior level, the director level folks that don't stop asking questions until they know the answers. And that to me is like how you do it. There's a lot of different forks in the roads and paths, but that determination to ensure you don't walk out of a room until you know something, or figure out a plan to get that information, that is so important and will help you throughout your career so much. So really go at it with a little bit of aggression in that regard.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Glad we're on the same page with that. Um, yeah. So this is like, this is pretty basic stuff, right? Like I just kind of talked to maybe like 5 or 6 people in my life, pulled their answers together, so I have them in XD, so I can always, it's great. I can always come back to this. Everything I need for this project, all my research, it can sit here. It's kind of cool. It's kind of cool to have like this mini workroom. Um, yeah, and some other research you can do from home, remotely. Yeah, you can talk to people. It's a little bit harder to find people nowadays, obviously. But just like get on Zoom, talk to someone, throw a survey out. There's plenty of websites and resources allow you to do
Yeah.
some free surveying. Maybe, maybe if you're being real brave and not and not too afraid to do this, try to run your own little focus group. Try to do like a big Zoom call. Very hard to manage. I get it. Zooms are hard, but the more people having a discussion about something, you take notes along the way and you pull insights from that. Kind of speeds up the process. A lot of these things, I mean, I remember, this is just a quick little like plug for anybody who needs a resource really quick, because I know around this time people start asking in the chat, like, what do I need? How do I do this? Universal Methods of Design, great book, kind of breaks down the design process and research. And so if you're at the beginning of the project, the end of the project, how to A/B test, how to do any type of like user research, user interviewing, it's a really good book, very well designed as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I know the chat sometimes looks for some resources. I know
Yeah.
I do. I'm constantly looking for new resources, even like as a designer
We
who
got to always be learning and growing for sure.
always. All right. How's the chat doing? How's everyone doing? I feel it's a little bit different. I'm so used to seeing the chat and like, having that. Is everyone okay out there?
I think everyone's good. They're liking the conversation as we get into some of the specifics here.
Yeah. Ask any questions you guys have. I'm sure sure we can
Yeah, you
answer.
guys, I'm gonna keep notes of any questions as we go, and kind of as we switch gears here into the next section, we'll stop and answer a few of those. So just tag me along the way, but we can keep moving along.
Cool. Cool. So, okay, so now we have some screens up. All right, so hopefully people who are like, I want to see some screens. We got some screens up. To be fair, you're looking at a screen, so all right. So another thing that I like to do in my process is start to do some comparisons. So a big question you should ask yourself at the beginning of your project is also, has it been done? Like, did I just come up with this idea out of the blue? Well, for the most part, everything's been kind of done. But what, as a designer, as a UX designer, as an interaction designer, there was always room for improvement. And there's always, what is the quote? There's a quote around designing and art. Good artists, bad artists borrow, good artists steal.
Steel, yeah.
Real, it's a real thing ever since like the beginning of art. And I think UX design and visual design, it's similar in that obviously don't plagiarize anything. That's awful to do that. But conceptually and with your ideas, it's like it's free game to mesh different ideas and concepts and structures and design patterns together. So one thing you should do at the beginning is check them out. Check out what other apps or products are doing something similar to your space. So we're doing a work from home, how to be mindful of your time, a meditative app maybe. And again, I'm using some keywords that I pulled out, therapy, clear mind, decluttered, friendships, community. These are some things that are kind of floating around. I'm looking down at my trends that I saw from my interviews. Let's see, people have their pain points are, oh, a lot of screen time. Oh, people don't talk to anybody for a long time, first in person if they're working from home. Oh, maybe they're snacking too much. So I'm looking at these like
Guilty, as I have a bag of Cheez-Its in front of me.
oh gosh, that sounds amazing. I love. Are they like the really? Never mind.
Oh, they're the I shouldn't be eating this kind.
Oh.
But I portion control with the tiny bags. I've learned that.
Oh, well, we actually, there you go. Portion control. It's another way to have a good habit, maybe lessen, dampen a bad habit. But
yep.
See, if we had, say this was a product that we could work on for months, highlighting something like that and maybe finding patterns in that type of thing.
Yeah.
Right, might be like a really cool way to like emphasize a feature down the line.
Yep.
It's all those things. And it's really interesting how once you break into this kind of thought process, for a new designer, this could feel really overwhelming also what I'm doing. So please stop me or say something in the chat if you feel like you need clarification. But it's amazing once you get into it, how truly like inspiring you can find things can be, even the most mundane things can be, even with UX design, even with like little screens on your phone.
Yep.
Cool. So we're doing some comparisons right now. Let's see. Right. So we're looking at Headspace. What's Headspace doing? We're also looking at their design system. Okay, what kind of colors they're using, what kind of like imagery they're using. Shine is another like meditation app. Oh, look, they kind of have like a community of sorts. I also think, this whole mindful meditative kind of like, guide feels like like you could be training your mind along with this. So I pulled up Nike Training Club and I'm looking at like their design scheme and some ideas that they've used in their app. A lot of curation, a lot of timers. Timers are a big way people stay focused. And then and then I was on my way to while I was prepping for the stream, I pulled up Spotify and to listen to some music, and I never realized they have like a daily wellness playlist for you. So it's like day to day, they've curated this like this meditative kind of like this is music we know you like, and
maybe stuff that's just chill and gonna like get you in the right spot.
Exactly. And like it's so personalized. I just find that really wonderful. And so I found some inspiration just like biking around the city today. And then I found like a weirder app. It's called Stoic, and it's kind of like very simple mantra setting reminder. Kind of feels like what we're trying to make right now. Something that helps you get through your day, relax, work from home productively, have a clear headspace. It's like, okay, so I pulled that out too. Cool. And then some of those key themes we've seen are rest, wellness, meditation, health, self-healing, taking breaks. These are all the things I've seen. And then some features we see, like a lot of collaboration between maybe maybe like a professional, like a trainer, or like maybe like a celebrity or someone curating things and collaborating with you. I also have curation here. Guides, a lot of guided meditations, a lot of like, here's what you should do with your day. Here's maybe a checklist of sorts. I saw some timers. I saw some like, these only last 10 minutes. You only need to do this. So
feels obtainable that way. Those little details, that's part of the user experience that doesn't make you feel like, oh, I just have to watch a video every day. Oh, I can do it in 5 minutes. Cool. I have 5 minutes. So it's really important.
it's so important. Do you use a timer when you work?
I don't, because I'm a little less in design now. I do more of like the business management stuff.
Mhm.
But I used to do like Pomodoro techniques and things like that. That would really help me like be very productive in those short sprints.
Yeah. It's 20 minutes, right, for the Pomodoro,
Hmm.
right? 20-minute sprints and intervals. It's
Yep.
amazing
Yep.
what you do. So yeah, so thinking through the timers, obviously, so again, these features, these key themes, we pull these in both with what we figured out here, maybe by talking to people, what you think is, and maybe a little like extra, oh, I really like whatever, personalize it to make your own, like an idea that an insight that you found that you haven't seen. Maybe you're like, no one is having food delivered at a certain time. I want food delivery in part of my wellness experience, like I don't like to cook. Pull that in. Maybe that idea is what makes your design like actually amazing and different. So for me, some insights that I pulled are, so I broke it down to two categories, like mental fortitude, mental strength, and then distraction free, being not distracted, being mindful. Maybe that goes along with meditation. Yeah, a lot of words, but we like words. Yeah, and then the last thing that we do in this kind of early process is we kind of go into personas. So personas are a hot topic. What's your vibe with personas, Peter?
It it's important to do. It's ideal if you can actually get some real people to help develop those personas. Otherwise, I often find a strong bias because you're making assumptions based on things, and if those assumptions are wrong, the work going forward can be kind of eschew.
Yeah, it's so true. Right. I just feel like there was a big conversation back in, maybe a year ago or two, of like personas versus, what is it, jobs to do, or just having, versus having just an amalgam of like a person or
Hmm.
right. I kind of fall in the middle. I think it's nice to be able to like point back to someone or something. And again, because the big part of my love of Brown UX is having people involved.
Right.
So we don't have to do this necessarily on air, but maybe I can do it like later. It's, basic things. Once you have all that information in your head, once you've had all those that research kind of just like slam into your brain,
Right.
some really basic things to kind of list out if you want to do like a really basic persona and not get into anything crazy. Figure out who this person is and what do they value. And yes, don't assume, base it on who you've talked to, base it on maybe what you see people repeatedly doing in these other forms, and maybe a little bit of your insights. So your pains, your gains, and then the product value.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where it's like, it's a little like research, it could be a little dry, be a lot of words. And it's so funny because we're making something visual. And for it to start with like all these words, it's like, why are we doing this? But it's so important. I'm sure
It is. Absolutely. Well, hey, before we jump into wireframes, I do want to make a couple more quick announcements. So, one, it's awesome. We've had an influx of viewers on YouTube lately. We're also going to encourage you to find your way over to behance.net/live. That's where we have our main chat going on, and you can engage in those discussions. Also, go check out Behance and all the other cool shows and live streams going on, as well as getting your own artwork and portfolio up there. So make sure you check that out. We're also going to be doing portfolio reviews today. So if you haven't yet, make sure to go submit your portfolio in the XD Discord at hashtag the portfolio reviews channel. And Val and I think Tim are going to be selecting some portfolios for us to check out towards the end of the stream. So make sure you go in and do that. And we'll be keeping an eye out for those links here in a bit. Also, Adobe is doing the Adobe Creative Residency Community Fund. And this is just really cool. The community team has put together a $1 million community fund aimed at providing resources for creatives. And the project will run the entirety of 2020, so there's no rush to apply. And go check that out. Those that are selected will receive a one-time grant to pursue a 2 to 4 week project. And it's just an amazing, amazing program. So I'm going to post that in the chat, and hopefully that will work under my account. Otherwise, Val will post that as well. But that is the link to the Adobe Creative Residency Fund, and really encourage you all to apply. It's so cool, and another one of the amazing ways that Adobe is supporting creatives in our industry. So really encourage you all to go check that out, and make sure submit your portfolios. We'll be excited to check those out in a bit. And with that, let's jump back into wireframes.
Yeah. Wow, that is some really cool stuff going on. Adobe Creative Residency.
Yep.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's a lot going on for the communities.
Yeah. We've got 40 hours of content a week. We've got challenges and giveaways and residency funds. This is just fantastic.
Wow. Wow, that's amazing. Oh man, that's like a lot of good work. I'm like, oh, okay, we gotta jump back into wireframes. Here we go. Okay. So, wireframes. We love them. We hate them. They're essential. Sometimes they're ugly. That's okay. So wireframes, obviously, for me, my personal preference is to draw them out. This is a fit one sheet. It's very rough. We're gonna wireframe today live. But I like to sketch them out on paper, and then bring them in. A lot of people like to sketch them in their chosen design tool. It's all good. Let's see. So for wireframes early on this, yes, sign in, onboarding. We know that. We probably need that. Not really going to focus on that. We're going to think through live right now what the home vibe is, what the home screen is going to be for people coming into this app. And we're really going to kind of solidify these concepts that we want to put into our final product. Because right now it's still early. And so again, this is very true to the process. Like when you start wireframing, you don't have everything ready. You don't have everything set, because anything could change. Your client could change, the technical abilities could change, the theme of what you're making, like your actual MVP could change. When you work on a team or wherever, things are constantly moving. So that's the beauty of wireframes. It's not to just help you guide through a beautiful design project. It's to let you mess up a bunch and try different things. So some of the things that I think we should bring in, definitely have some reminders, some type of reminders and notification. I think that's kind of a necessary, great. Guides and curation. I loved the element of that in Spotify. That was super inspiring. Having a guide, like maybe a Headspace, kind of what Headspace is doing over here with, it kind of feels like a workout, but also doesn't feel too intimidating. Something kind of like what Nike's doing, like how long it takes, what you're going to need. Maybe there's something like that. So maybe it feels like we're offering guides to be mindful. Either maybe it's a playlist, maybe it's a stretching moment. Maybe it's take a walk and listen to something, or maybe it's to turn off your phone. Like, so what are those guides going to be? That's something we're going to pull together. I think even checklists and progression. I feel like I need to pull that up, because that's going to help us stay motivated the most. I feel like again. So now I'm pulling in like my preference as a designer, and I got to be careful about that, right? Because like I've talked to people, and sometimes you can have a preference and not realize that everyone else's preference is very different.
Right.
And that's where a lot of research comes in, because you could be doing research for like months and accumulate like hundreds of interviews, and that's going to be the thing. You could literally look at numbers over you're right, you're wrong. So that's another huge benefit. But I think I can safely say checklists helping you progress through the app might be a good place to start. And then I'd love to kind of bring in a community aspect, maybe a way to check yourself, maybe a way to check in. I think, here we go. Looks like Shine does something like that. There's a little bit of a community post. It's tricky, especially around a subject matter like your mental state, you're being mindful. That's a tricky place. So maybe we'll play around with some ideas, and we'll throw them into wireframes.
Yeah. And like you said, wireframes are just meant to get your ideas out there. And what's cool too is once your wireframes are approved, one of the big things is just having all like the functional requirements nailed down, because like we send our wireframes to our developers, and they can actually build the entire functionality of an app before we've skinned it, so long as they know all of the feature sets that are going to be included here. So you can start building like backend APIs and things like that. So again, I know it can be tough, and a lot of times we want to just jump right into design, but it's a really, really important part of the process.
Oh my gosh, it's like so essential. I really appreciate the wireframing stage. It is the most difficult to do though if you are strong visual designer. I think I've seen so many people in my career and path really skip over that step for not very good reasons. We used to, it was almost like a bad nickname to get if you were hi-fi, and it was like hi-fi someone, like, and then your name, like, oh, a little too hi-fi, when you're reviewing your designs.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, a little too hi-fi, bring it down.
Yeah. And then you have those clients that like can't understand a wireframe like this, and you're like, cool, here's the design, and I just brought down the colors, so it's literally black and white, even though it's a fully designed app. And then they get it. It's just, you got to know who you're working with. It's always different.
It really is. And there are some people that like really have some beautiful template wireframes. So that's the other thing I could have done. Pull those in here and just kind of mix and match. And maybe we will. Like, I don't, who's to say? Like, I think they're all rules apply at this point. How do you wire? What's your wireframe like?
I'm like this. I like to be quick and messy. I like actual whiteboard wireframes because I'm more apt to explore things. When I get into digital, I just start like designing it out. And so to prevent myself from that, I like having that physical pen and paper or whiteboard. That's really helpful to me.
Yeah, it's to your own preference for sure. I think so this is the thing I've been having trouble with as a designer working from home. I'm pen and paper. So I've had to kind of teach myself this early portion of wireframing, doing it rough and fast and ready in a design system or a design tool like XD. Luckily, XD is so freaking fast and like fun to like, I can like throw things around quickly, and it's really nice. Alrighty. So we have a home. Like, what's our home vibe? I'm just gonna throw out some different ideas here, right? Do we have, coming into this, when you come in, do you have like a daily playlist of sorts? Maybe it's already exists over here. Let's actually, maybe it like happens over here. Yeah, I'm just playing around. Let's see. Let's do another iteration really fast. Right, what are some thoughts I had around here? Community. Look how rough this is. Oh, right. I had an idea of coming up here and maybe you have like a little little quote of the day, some sort of the day. Or
I like that thought. It's just you're always greeted by something that's kind of warm and welcoming.
Right. Oh yes, I liked this kind of concept around, what's the thing? Plugins. One, I like icons for design just because, especially when you're wireframe, you just need something, anything. So I need
This is really cool. I haven't seen this one before.
Oh, icons for design. Looks super basic icons that I don't think I would use for any final design at all, but
for wireframing, yeah, it totally suits.
It's perfect. This is the part of the stream where I remember being like, all right, so we're moving things around. Things around. I haven't designed live in a hot minute, you guys. This looks weird, but again, like let it go, right? So that's something I have to tell myself is like, this looks weird. Of course it looks weird. It's a wireframe.
Yeah. It is hard. I mean, and that's where, like I said, some clients too, they look at it and go, well, something's off or whatnot. And that's why I like keeping wireframes. I know sometimes I take heat for it. I do wireframes in Comic Sans when I do them on the digital side.
Right.
Yeah, because my brain can't comprehend it as being real design. So I intentionally use fonts that I won't take seriously, and hopefully my client won't either. And that helps me step back. Otherwise, if I go in with like Open Sans or Lato or Proxima Nova or whatever, I just get into design mode. So I have to do things to keep it out. So I'll like either use block font or I'll use Comic Sans. I use really obnoxious colors or whatnot, because otherwise it's so easy for me to just like get in that flow.
Oh my goodness.
Just little design tea for the day. Wireframes with Comic Sans.
I'm shook, and I think it's a great idea.
It's a good thing we're using this app to like just take a little chill after that.
Exactly. For sure. Oh man, I'm shook up. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm gonna try it though. I think it's a great idea. Yeah, the least I get attached to it, the better.
And we're using repeat grid here just to make this process really quick and easy. You know, instead of duplicating and manually moving stuff around, that repeat grid tool is a big time saver.
Use repeat grid over here, obviously, and then I use repeat grid for these kind of like boxes, quick, fast, and then I made an element over here. You know, I could probably even make it into component. I'm not, because it's a wireframe. I don't really need to. And then I dropped it into this first element, and because it's still in repeat grid, it kind of it went throughout the rest of them, which is nice.
Yeah,
maybe that's what I want. Alrighty. Yeah, I kind of like. Let's see, maybe something here. I'll like start. Maybe I'll have a start button here as well. Yeah, it's hard. There's so many people that want it to look beautiful, and I also love things that are aesthetically pleasing.
It is, but going back to like, if it's just about the functionality, it helps, and you can emphasize to your client or to your team like, this, we're just focusing on what this thing can do, and we're gonna like, heck, when we build this thing out, maybe the start button's at the very bottom. Like, who knows? All we know is at this stage we need a quote of the day, a way to start, and to-dos. How we change that up later could be any way, any direction, but functionally these are the things that we need, and that's what you got to focus on in these wires.
It's so true. Something that I even like to do, that I've just started doing actually, because I'm like, you know, because I feel like when you're creating something, your brain's moving a mile a minute. You want to do a lot of different elements. Something that I really started doing was like, start building a component that could live in the actual final. I was like, okay, but not like nothing final visually, just like, all right, so these to-dos here, what could actually live in them? Are we thinking like a song? You know, if that's the case, I need a title. Oh my God, that Comic Sans is cracking me up. That's hysterical. A title, maybe we have like time. for time, seconds. This is what's happening. You know,
Yeah.
maybe there's like, okay, maybe that's something that lives there, or maybe it's something else.
While you're doing that, Steve was asking, can XD handle text styles or paragraph styles? And yes, as we said in chat, absolutely, it can do that. Colors, iconography, and one of the really cool features, and maybe we'll touch base on this more tomorrow when we like really get heavy into the design process, is instant states, which I think is one of the coolest features in XD now, where you can literally say, here's my button, but here's what it does and looks like when it hovers or when it's pressed. And you can do that through a single component. So that way you don't need to manage a design system with like 8 different variations. It's a really, really cool aspect of XD. And I know when you guys are looking for like in this 2-day stream, we're going to be focusing on kind of this project as a whole and share some tips and tricks along the way. Next week and the week after, I'm going to be teaching the XD Daily Creative Challenges, which Howard is also teaching after the stream, so stick around for that. And in those, we really focus on each day kind of a different feature set of things that you can do and really help with the technical side of working inside of XD. So make sure you join those streams. Like I said, I'll be on the next 2 weeks. Howard's in there this week. Those are fantastic streams to really learn the fundamentals. But I think learning from these streams here, like we are with Alexis, this is where we get the time to think about how as a designer you need to truly be solving problems. And I'm geeking out watching this process because this is the stuff that's really important to learn. The technical side and whatnot, you can do that through those challenges really well, but getting to observe and watch somebody in their element and walk through it, this is gold. So I appreciate the 829 people that are watching right now. Thank you for being here. This is awesome. And I'm glad that we're able to give you guys some good information right here.
Oh, wow. 800 of you guys. I'm so glad you guys are hanging out. Howard Pinsky is doing DCC today, right?
Correct. Yeah. Howard is the man.
Howard was my first host. So I've only guested twice. This is the second one, but Howard was my first host. What a guy. I felt very, very honored to have Howard Pinsky.
He's fantastic. Anytime I can't figure something out, Howard's the first person I go to, because he's just knows it all inside and out.
He really, and I mean, he's been doing it. Not just XD.
Yeah, he's been a tutorial master for a long, long time. That's why I was so excited to see him join Adobe full time, because it's like that shows the dedication of years and years of hard work, and kind of all leading up to something like that. So super proud of him.
He's great. I have design colleagues who have been in the industry for like, years, 15, 20 plus years. And when I show them, when I've told them I've done Adobe Live, obviously I'm so proud of it. Generally, even just hosting, I love meeting some of these designers. I'm like, I never would have met you otherwise. And then I show them like Howard Pinsky. They're like, you got hosted by Howard Pinsky. And I was like, oh my God, I forgot. He's like, that's a household name.
Yeah.
It's so funny. But yeah, so that's cool. Yeah, he's today. And I'll actually be in Discord as well, checking out all the work to be done with the DCC.
That's awesome. So yeah, make sure you guys go in and tag Alexis, later as you submit the challenges. That way, I know for me in Discord, it's really helpful because Discord doesn't have threading like Slack used to. So it's kind of hard to track some of those submissions when they come in mass. But if you tag us, it makes it a lot easier, and we'll make sure we can get back to you.
Yeah, tag us. It's a little tricky.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it all out. The mentors in there are pros.
And so maybe walk through folks through too here, what are some things that you're thinking through, and kind of what I'm hinting at is like the usability standards or kind of like best practices as you create that bottom menu bar or sizes of your icons. Like what are you kind of loosely thinking through here?
Okay. Yeah. So again, like, we're not getting into like the hard pixels yet with everything being exact, which is, but it's a good thing to think about. I think simple is better. Generally, I think too many options overwhelms the user,
Hmm.
and I think that could be seen in a lot of different places. I think, and I think just like you think to your own experience of using something, you know, the less options you have, the more direct path you will have. Obviously, people take that in very literal ways, so they have maybe nothing, and other people have literally everything, and that also has to do with while you're creating and figuring out what these elements are, what are the most important, right? So if you're like, say you have an app like Headspace, if ours is like we just want people to meditate, you know, that's going to be your main focus. And actually I think maybe they need to take a beat and like deciding like what are all these other elements you're
Yeah,
testing.
that's a lot of stuff to take in and go, where do I go?
Where do I go and why? You know, like, you know, that's the other thing. That's actually something we didn't do with this early process is a journey map of
Hmm.
really practically like where are you going? We're doing that live with the wireframes. um, once I once we get there. So for an app like this, like I was saying before, I was like, all right, maybe I'll have elements like a community. Maybe I'll have a you know maybe I want three things to happen. Maybe I
Hmm.
want three spaces for this app because at the end of the day, it's also people meditate, people find calm and access that in different ways. So
Yeah.
if I want to kind of reach out to a couple different types of people, I'm going to work with three just to be simple. um, People want to talk to other people. Maybe people need to interact to have clarity over a project, an idea, or just their own self. And I'm talking about not just work from home. You know, I'm talking the fact that we're all indoors now. Our mental space is a little wonky. What are the things that are going to get us on track, not just with work, but with our own personal goals? So I think we can safely say personal goals is what we're focusing on. So three elements here. Want to bring in a community of people somehow. I want to have guides so that if you're not feeling like searching for that perfect song, maybe that perfect exercise to get you out of your like very hectic headspace, you can access that. And then again, like we were talking about earlier, this checklist idea, this reminders, these progression or reminders, this progression of your goals. So I'm gonna try to take these are what I love about post-it notes. I love post-it notes for this reason. So maybe this is how we structure it. You know, we'll have checklists of these guides and maybe a community element of here. Maybe this is reminders. And so what we can kind of see here is the formation of my screens as well.
Hmm.
So here, maybe within checklists and progressions, maybe that element, it has, you know, maybe we have guides and reminders. This is really true to my mental state around making things. So for those three that I was talking about, I was like, maybe that's what lives at the bottom. If we're doing a bottom nav generally, right? I'm going to see what it looks like. I'm going to see what it feels like. Does it make sense? I'm going to stick with three elements. I used a music note because maybe a mug would be interesting as well. You know, or is it too overwhelming on the screen? You know,
Hmm.
this is what. So if I take this and I've now create this, maybe I'll make this a component, which is great because then we can always have access to it. And
Yep.
since the bottom nav, or maybe it will be the bottom nav in the future. I'm not sure. We're still playing
Yeah.
around.
But then you make changes, it'll stay in
Exactly.
sync. Yeah.
Exactly. So what will it look like amongst some of these other elements? Is that too much? Is that just fine? Is that too simple?
Hmm.
So these are the things you can look at. I constantly am doing this. I'm constantly trying to see it in like real size.
Yep.
Um,
And you can use the Adobe XD mirror app as well. So you can actually plug it in on your phone and have that available so that while you're designing, even you can see real time what is this looking like, because oftentimes on your screen it looks fine, you can see it, and then you go read it on your phone, you're like, what is this microscopic copy? I can't get this.
exactly.
So definitely go download the XD Mirror app, and also go check out things like the Apple Developers Guidelines, the Material Design Guidelines, because that's going to tell you things like icons should be specific minimum sizes, or do they suggest a change of color with filled icons versus switching from line to filled? Like some of that stuff has changed in recent years. So go check that out. Know what size your touch point should be. And I know that's kind of like advanced stuff, but it's really helpful to learn and know those things as you are working.
I think it sets apart designers definitely sets people apart once you're. So what we're doing with this first day stream is we're conceptualizing. We're going through this early design process, but once we've gone beyond it, something that will set my designs apart and your designs apart is knowing the specificity over what the industry is doing. And I'm not going to lie to you. It's ongoing, and you have to constantly teach yourself what's going on. But at least there's people like Adobe Live and Peter and like Power that are like constantly updating themselves and making sure, and then sharing it, which is big. So you also, who else knows a bunch of that stuff is go try your developers. Maybe your front end developer might have a good knowledge of that. And you like, yo, what is it? How big should this be? Does this work? Do we do this anymore? Like, right? Are we still hamburger menuing it? What's happening?
It's really important to work closely with your dev teams on all that stuff. I mean, especially like accessibility things as well. It's going to be really good to work in sync with that.
I really love my front end team when I was working at. It was like a little startup, maybe like 10 of us. And we were so close. And I think the best designs I had in that time were when we co-designed and we paired up, and we would, I would bring a design to my front end developer, and we would sit next to each other and just like flush ideas out, because it was a startup and it could have just happened quickly, whatever, it happened on the fly. Like, oh, we need this new thing. So yeah, good times.
And just a reminder, we're going to be doing portfolio reviews in about 25 minutes. So we've got about 25 more minutes for today to go through this stuff. And then tomorrow we're going to jump into more of the design. But today is all about the strategy, the discovery, getting in, doing wireframes, and setting ourselves up with a good foundation for this project to be successful. And we are getting some great feedback. Chris saying, really enjoying the session. A lot of folks, Munir is mentioning, going to watch this replay many times to learn stuff over. Mike Kotchenberger, some great tertiary information here for you, buddy. And just inside joke from when he and I were doing live like a year and a half ago. I think it was in like October. But yeah, lots of good stuff. And I think folks are really digging how in-depth you're going on this information. So thank you for setting this all up.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah, it's stuff that I feel like it took me a while. You find it on your own, really. You learn a lot of this stuff, but your process with it, it's a lot of time to figure out. So I'm glad it's reaching people.
Yeah.
I love that. What's the song? 20 minutes. I didn't know we were doing portfolio reviews. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Love portfolio reviews. I can't wait to hear your opinion for some portfolios and all that. I just love hearing other designers and how they critique portfolios.
Yeah, if you guys want to, we've been doing some portfolio reviews on the Unfold YouTube as well. So you guys are welcome to come check us out. Go follow me on social, or it's youtube.com/unfoldco. And we did, I think, 2 or 3 streams in the month of April, and we'll get those fired back up. But those are fun to do. I enjoy diving into those streams and seeing what everybody's up to. There's a lot of amazing talent out there.
Unfold, so Unfold's your brainchild.
Yeah, so I'm a design director over at Unfold, and we do all kinds of brand illustration and web app stuff, and we have a great time with that.
Nice. And where are you guys out of again?
So I'm remote in California. Most of the team is out in Florida.
Florida. Sunshine. Wait, no, that's not right. Is that right?
I think Florida is the Sunshine State. It could be California too, because we're pretty shiny.
They're so shiny. They're so shiny. All right. Let's see. Something that I just
And
love.
Val, are you guys going to have the links in the Google Sheet in a bit for the portfolio reviews too? I got that up, so I'm keeping an eye on it. Oh, and thank you, Akin. Appreciate that.
It's so strange not seeing the chat. I should pull it up. I just don't want my bandwidth to go crazy.
I hear it. You know what I might want to do tomorrow is have it up on like your phone on the side. Sometimes I've done that.
That's a good idea. Dang, I should have done that. I love that chat. I love you guys. You're so nice. Everyone's so nice in the chat. All right, so what am I mocking together right now? So it looks like so at some point along the way, I mocked together kind of like this list element, this like daily playlist meditation checklist. I've been mocking up different forms of it. And what happened along the way was like, that kind of looks really good as like maybe the second screen, right? So like, maybe it's not a home screen. So I pulled it down and I was like, okay, I kind of like these two styles. So we're going between these two styles. Maybe this is like the second page. Let's divide that.
And it's nice when it's this rough too, because you can just go like, hang on, what if I tried this thing a different way? And I mean, you can do it in 2-3 minutes where you could have 4 variations of the same screen just to get ideas out there, because you have to test it to see if you like it or if this is a direction worth pursuing. So the quicker that you can move, and that's one thing, XD is super snappy. I think it's one of the fastest design software tools in terms of you could have hundreds of screens and it behaves like there's 3. And so you can just kind of quickly start prototyping this stuff out and see, is this something you want to continue with, or ditch the idea and move to something else?
Exactly. Yeah, it's so snappy. It's so snappy. It's so funny. I can't tell you how many times I've seen designers go straight into the finals, and it's so it's like it's not aggravating. I'm not like mad about it, but I'm like disappointed because I'm like, this is your time to kind of show that process, and maybe we can get into it more with the design portfolios. But I love seeing process in them, right? And if you can organize your process well, I was like, I'm always amazed because I was like, explaining your process in like a little case study, and you did it so well. It's my favorite part about portfolios. So it's a good opportunity. What are you doing today for some self-care and wellness during these times? Do you have any routines you do?
I do. So I think you had it in some of your earlier brainstorming. I'm one of those, like, I want to be super efficient. I want to get things done so that I can reward myself with time to relax and whatnot. So with some folks in channel, Michael, Chris Cannon, a couple other folks, we all play video games after work. So we hop on, we play some Call of Duty for a couple hours and just like chill, and then go into family mode. And then I end the day a little early so my wife can work out, and I play with the kids and go for a walk and stuff before dinner. So it's that's me taking care of myself.
That's awesome. That's really awesome. Chris Cannon, yeah, I was the host.
Chris. Oh, with Chris, yeah.
One of my favorites, I gotta say. I mean, I love everyone equally. That's what I meant to say, but Chris was okay. Let's see. Really cool. Yeah, plenty of people. You know, it's interesting. There's so many people's different work styles are coming out during this time, and I've noticed a lot of I love spotting kind of like the A-type personality coming out, and it's so funny. Like I'll be in a call, and then I can like recognize when someone's like just woke up, and we're like, you just got up, didn't you? Like you didn't make, and then you can tell the person that's had coffee like 2 hours prior. And I was like, wow, like we all work very differently, and it's really such an interesting time to like get to see everyone's like default style of work.
Yeah. That's one of my biggest things I love about watching people, not just on the streams, but just even in co-editing and watching teammates work, is you get to see how people solve the same solutions in a different way. And then you can maybe watch and observe some of those. So maybe you guys are watching and like, oh wow, I see how Alexis is setting these up. Like I'm going to modify my process a little bit to be more similar to this. You get to see that by observing. And when you can be working alongside each other in files, like our team, we literally pair design as we go. So we actually all jump into the file together when we do team sprints. And you might have 5 people working on the same homepage or mobile app screen. And as you get to see what everybody's doing, you start going, wait, I really like what Ted's got over here and Eddie's doing over here and David and Evan. Like you start combining different assets or portions of the screen based on that and then keep pushing it with your own unique twist to it. And I think that's how at least our team, we usually get to a lot of the cool solutions that we get to by working alongside each other and just having that like, I don't know, just back and forth. It's not one person just knocking something out and we call it a day. It's like a true collaborative kind of environment.
Love that. I love that. Do you would you want to jump in at some point to just mess it up?
I've been having some issues actually getting yours to update. I don't know if maybe we set the permissions differently, but it's not updating completely in real time for me. So maybe we can fix that out tomorrow.
Tomorrow,
And
we'll do that.
we'll do that.
What's great is then so this is great. Great thing to showcase is like, now once these wireframes are built out, which is going to be like, that's today, that's the rest of the time on the stream. And want to build as many screens as I want. I'm going to rearrange them. I'm going to figure out that flow. And then tomorrow, what I kind of want to do, Peter, is like grab an established design system already and then show how we both can start applying.
Yeah.
And that would be really cool. I mean, these things happen quickly once you get things organized, right?
Yep.
So again, that back end stuff, that stuff is so important and once those things are figured out, man, sky's the limit.
Yeah, I think that's where taking the time to set up your design with proper type styles and whatnot. And I know our time is very limited here on the streams. I know that stress, but like being able to do that in your real projects will save you so much time than if you built out tens or hundreds of screens but didn't have those styles in place. It can be a big headache later. So take the time, kind of that one step back or to take 2 steps forward. It's a really important part of the design process.
It really is. It really is. Oh man, it is. So something I like to ungroup my repeat grids because sometimes I'm just like, listen, I want to treat this as an individual. But I always forget every now and then. I'm always like, oh yeah, what's happening? Oh, repeat grid. Any favorite like plugins or things you do while you're designing on with XD?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the trying to remember the name. Let me pull it up on my thing. But the avatar plugins is great. I use that all the time just to make sure that you get a good mix of diversity, men and women, all kinds of different people and age groups. Being able to like quickly mock that up in a designs is really helpful. And I've mentioned a couple times, like I'm all about, I think it's UI faces. And then I'm all about anything that improves your efficiency and speed. So things like Unsplash stock photo searches and things like that, where I can grab 8 squares and say, cool, I want graphics that have to do with like burgers or surfing, and search that and then select 8 different photos that I want to put in versus needing to go to unsplash.com, search for photos, download each one, go find it, put it in. That could save whether it's 3 minutes or 5 minutes, but it doesn't break my flow and focus, which could cost me 30 minutes. That's a really cool thing that I lean on those kind of plugins all the time.
Wow, UI faces. I'm trying to remember which ones I have. UI faces, I do have that one up. Love that plugin. Let's try it. We can use it really quick.
Yeah, I see this icons for design. I gotta download that. That's really cool. And Stark is another great one for accessibility.
Stark is great. I personally really like Wixify. I always like brag about Wikify because it's like, we'll talk about text again, but like I like real copy. I'm a
Hmm.
big word person.
Yeah,
When
don't
someone
lorem ipsum.
when someone puts lorem ipsum on like a really beautiful mock, I'm
Yeah,
like, what? Like take
I would
3 minutes.
never have known that this wasn't a real project until I saw the lorem ipsum.
Exactly. It makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Mm. Um, but let's have fun with the UI faces. Da, da. Right. And if I keep these unchecked, then it'll like diversify, or it'll do it at random, correct?
So let me go back over to your screen. Okay, yeah. So you could use Unsplash. You can figure out the source that you want. I mean, it'll even pull stuff from like IMDb if you want celebrities. And
Mm-hmm.
then I usually leave the age range at default, but you could say like I want both men and women. I want people to be neutral or happy. Um, and stuff like that. So yeah, again, grayscale, which is great for
I
wireframing.
just saw that. That's really cool. I'm like, okay, yeah, let's do grayscale for this example in my little
Yeah,
let's try it out. So I'm hitting apply. Oh, please work. Yes, it's working.
super cool. So I mean, here
Work.
we only got 3 women, but we might come in and say, hey, I want to swap one of these out. I want to make sure I have a guy in here. And then, again, really easy, 2 clicks, you've got that dialed in and you're ready to go. So this is really cool and a great way to easily have that kind of stuff in here. And you can just keep hitting it to like keep auto random generating, if you didn't like a particular image or something.
Yeah, love that.
Yeah. All right. And we got about 9 more minutes until portfolio reviews. And I am going to send them to you as well over Discord. That way you can pull up and kind of be in the driver's seat. That way you can really weigh in on those.
Right on. Love it. So right now I'm making a community space, something really rough, really easy, something that I think we all can understand. It kind of like maybe it's not like a community space, but they have maybe rooms where you can like dive in. Maybe it's maybe it's more of like a something low maintenance. Maybe you can't DM directly. Maybe anyway, so I'm trying to think through my community space right now, which is a whole other thing. But I don't want it to be the main focal point of my app, so I'm trying not to get my head into it because it's like the secondary thing. So yeah, others. Right. Okay. All right, something like this. Who knows? Cookie for one. This one is here. Are you ready? Lefty, lefty.
This is real cool. And like just because that action I saw, it's very hard when you do these sometimes when you are a person that is attention to detail and kind of OCD with spacings and alignments. But just remember with these wires, get in there, be loose and focus on like what those things are that you're building. You can always refine that stuff later.
So true. So true. Yes, the exact things are not. Let's not get into it today.
Yeah.
That's for tomorrow. We have
And
a
I
full.
love it. We've just been diving in today. The stream, we're over 1,000 people now. This is fantastic.
Nice.
So we are diving in, and tomorrow we're going to see the fruits of this labor and see how getting these screens put together today set us up to be successful for tomorrow.
Really well. I'm excited. I'm excited. And it's gonna be fun. Like at the end of the day, right? We're focusing on simplicity. So a lot of my screens, you've noticed, have like these really big, like blocked off spaces. I'm like, oh, I cannot wait to find some cool imagery around that. And that's basically, that'll be the focal point. And kind of brings me into my other thing I like to tell people when as a designer, I don't know about you, but like it's like a lot of these resources like Pexels, Upsplash, Adobe Stock are so great, but
Hmm.
You have a friend
Yeah.
who's a photographer, and that's golden.
Yep.
Like a really solid photographer, and then you can specify exactly what type of shot you want. Oof, it's nothing better.
Yeah. Absolutely. When you can collaborate with that too, it just makes things more fun as well. And Annie was saying loves this idea connecting with a community of people, especially right now. That's fantastic. And we had a question from Munir. How do you choose research and design methodologies to use based on the project's needs, goals, and constraints?
Great question. I would refer you to this book for real, Universal Methods of Design, because they break down when it's appropriate to use certain design research methods. Seriously, go check it out. It's pretty cheap online, but
Yeah. Yeah, the Kindle version was like $2. I think
oh,
it was
nice.
about $20 for the hardcover. We posted that earlier as well.
Awesome. Yeah, it's the thing of it is that you're absolutely right. I think like perfect question to ask, right? Like every project's going to have a different research need and a different question that it's trying to figure out and answer. So great, just starting just generally, great question. I think you're on the right track. And a lot of these are trial and errors. Like these are taken from a lot of soft sciences. Like there's a lot of uh, like there's a lot of academic papers written around like different types of research that you can do, and I think a lot of design research has pulled from those. So this is a great book that kind of feels a bit academic and a bit like kind of like a little too very specific and very almost like it's literally by the book, but they're just meant to be like placeholders for you to like make better. So
Yeah.
card sorting, great example, right? Card sorting is mentioned in the book, obviously, and it tells you a specific time and type of project and explains it and what you would do. But card sorting, I'm in front of, I have a bunch right here. Card sorting can be whatever you want it to be, right? So maybe it's a bunch of words, right? Maybe it's a bunch of words on cards that you're sorting, or literally maybe it's pictures. So the point is, design research standards are meant to be broken up and redesigned. But get yourself a book to kind of start to go over those things. This book is awesome because it tells you when to use it. I like, again, this stuff's happening in real time. Like anything that's now happening this year could change. There could be some
Yep.
new way to. I think what's happening right now, honestly, is we're learning new different ways to do research because everything is remote.
Yeah. 100%. And I mean, there's a lot of great resources on YouTube too. I mean, I know Google Design Sprints are really popular. I'm not quite as in depth as a lot of the stuff that you're going to find in like this book and others, but just again, all of these come back to asking questions, and so all of these methodologies are just different ways of asking questions or different playbook of questions to ask. So go get as familiar with as many things as you can, and through that and through the experience um, you'll know what questions to ask when the time comes, and you'll have projects where you'll go, oh, I should do this because I've done it before and I've either succeeded with something or something we did failed, and we've learned from that lesson, and we know that if we do this, we're going to see user drop off or less likely to click, or whatever the thing is. So everything that you do, you're constantly and always learning, and things are always changing. So even what you might have done and worked well years ago might not necessarily be the same thing today. So it's really important to stay on top of all that and stay fresh and current.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Great question, though, and I think just asking that question, you're on the right track with this. What's your like preferred method of research when like what's your favorite research activity to kind of like do?
Um, I think, maybe actually observing people.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's something that isn't often done enough due to budget constraints, especially in an agency situation. Uh, but you learn so much from that, seeing how people actually interact. And I love when we've set it up before where there's actually a camera watching the person as well as maybe like their hand interacting with something and you get the heat maps, but you can see those like micro expressions of frustration or delight along the way. And that stuff
Mhm.
is really, really important to know how that works. Like, does somebody get frustrated if there's too many menus or if they can't find something, or like Yelp just redesigned. I hate it. I like, and I don't know that it's a bad redesign. I haven't taken enough time to look at it, but I was so accustomed to what it was, and it
Yeah.
feels so radically different now that every time my wife and I go look to, order food from local restaurants right now, I'm like, I don't know, where's this thing? Where did they go? I can't find it. And like, I don't want to use it. I want to order through DoorDash or something like that I know better and it still feels and remains familiar. So all of those little details are very important.
Wow, yeah. It's when things change is hard. That's the other thing that I've noticed a lot is like when new designers are creating these projects and doing these kind of like day projects, not even day projects, but just like side projects for them to boost their portfolio up. Um, I like to see the realness for me lies in like the flexibility of it and what like whatever they're creating. I like seeing iterations of it, right?
Yeah.
Like again, so because people are so afraid of change, right? So say that I think it's an important thing for an early designer to know or to understand is that like whatever you make isn't precious. Like it may not last more than like a moment, a breath, a moment, right? Like it'll change and somebody may love it, someone may hate it, but the point is it's gonna change. So being able to
Yeah.
see someone iterate an idea because of feedback or because of or whatever, or times are changing or the phones, even phone sizes, whatever.
Yeah.
Seeing that in a portfolio as we get closer is I love that. I love seeing how things have evolved for a designer.
Well, since it is 1:31, why don't we, if you could pull up those links I sent on Discord, and then if you could switch over, we might have a little technical glitch for just a second, but if you could switch your screen share to be your browser window, um, or if you want to just do full desktop, whatever you would like to do, if you can pull up those two portfolios, and maybe we start with the second one, we will jump into some portfolio reviews.
All right, sounds good. Let me open them really quick
Yeah,
first.
and while you do that, I mean, if you're here and tuning in, you can learn so much from watching portfolio reviews of other individuals, not even just yourself, because it's really helpful to see, tips that might be mentioned in terms of like how to present the work better or how to make things more cohesive or whatnot. So make sure stick around for that. Like I mentioned, we've got some portfolio review streams on the Unfold channel that you guys can check out as well. And we've done like a couple 2-hour streams of portfolio reviews. So lots of good stuff in there. And why don't we start off with, this one here and jump into a couple of these. And I'll let you drive and I'll chime in if whenever you would like, or if there's something else to add.
Yeah, no, I mean, just I would love to hear your opinion generally. Let's see. All right. Ebube. I'm sorry. I'm really bad with names, and even when I host, I'm like, oh boy.
We
Even
try our best. I think we're pretty close there.
I think so too. Yeah. Chat. Just as a side note, if you have a name that maybe us, Westerners don't understand phonetically, it would really help. Or like maybe in the chat. Anyways, this is my like helping my future host self out. Cool. Let's see here. Okay. Well, first off, I want to check out I want to know a little bit more about your background information, who you are as in terms of what do you do professionally. So that's where Behance, this little like profile section on Behance is really great.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of telling me maybe what tools you're using right off the bat. Kind of dive in and explore what Behance has to offer in this space. Just kind of so it does a lot of work for you up front. Okay. So I don't know like if you're a student or maybe if you transitioned, but we'll learn it as we go. Okay. So we have a creative challenge. Awesome. Musically. I like this. Let's see. Okay. All right. Cool. A lot of stuff going on. So it's basically a music app, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Cool. Yeah, a lot of stuff happening here. I think the first thing we need to kind of understand is what type of phone it's on. You've mocked up an iPhone. I think a lot of the different design styles you're using kind of like, maybe this is an Android, maybe it's not really sure. So thank you for mocking that up. Yeah, a lot of stuff happening. Something I've noticed right off the bat is your spacing. So I think a big thing that really sets a lot of designers apart, and I've talked about it on the Discord a little with individual designers. I don't know if any of them are like watching or want to weigh in, but something that really will set you apart is understanding scale, like your text scale, and the spacing that you use throughout your design. We use the word breathe a lot to kind of be like, let things breathe a little bit more, right? Like give it more space. So there's a lot, because there's so much you can put on a screen, doesn't necessarily mean you should.
Right.
So I'm seeing a lot of like spacing, not a lot of being able to do this, stuff like this, where things are very tight onto each other.
Mm-hmm.
It helps to kind of understand kind of the basics with that. So I think I have a feeling if you were to go back, and I have a feeling if we actually hit his newer work, maybe he's figured that out, because that does feel like a very early design concept to learn.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. And then I'm seeing a lot of text styles. So
again, that's definitely one thing. Like it feels overwhelming with so many different styles.
Yeah, textiles, another big thing. So textiles and spacing, I think, are like the biggest thing I see on Discord.
Mm-hmm.
My biggest like feedback. Yeah. And as designers, we can do so many things in our heads at once, and we almost need to be checked constantly. So I see that do you have your typography? That's great. I would say even bringing it down to one style, one type of font. So maybe that's the other reason I thought it was Android. He's like a Microsoft font. Pick one and then try different styles within that one font. You'll quickly see how cohesive your design can get. Let's go to his next, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So that was last. That was like the first one. This is like their most recent. Cool. Look at that. See? Boom. Like already, like spacing's a little like much better.
Yeah.
Your font, you're staying within like one specific. You're staying with like a sans serif. Cool.
But like you said, like just as I annotate on your screen,
let
me clear. Is like this right here is really difficult. I can just tell is too small. So again, like the text here is really tiny. So just making sure like readability across the board is a lot easier.
Yes, absolutely. At scale. Right. And especially with something like a search bar, that might be like some of the bigger feedback for this one. Because basically the text or search bar, you're remaking something that exists already. So my recommendation when you're starting is to not work harder than you need to. So if something exists, grab it. Especially for iOS, like that exists.
Well, and that's a big action. I mean, search in terms of like ordering food somewhere is probably one of the biggest features. So you want that to be more prominent, not less prominent.
Right.
And just going back to as well, like if you scroll down a little bit more to the next set, is like we mentioned not having lorem ipsum filler. And while this isn't lorem ipsum, it's the same thing like 6 times. And so just having some varying, like, yes, I expect you to reorder from that, but not place 6 orders for the same amount. It's those tiny details, but that will make this feel like a DCC challenge versus, oh, wow, look at this app that somebody built out. This is a great concept or great project.
Yeah, I agree. It makes it real. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, I think you brought up a great point with search. Like what is the main focus of and value for this app? It's like if you're already, here's a screen example, like here's pizza, we're searching in pizza. Maybe we can rearrange this a little bit more. Like what are the main activities you want me to take now that I'm like 2 steps in?
Right.
But I can see you're working with filters now, or trying to think through filters. You know, there's a lot here that I can see your brain moving around. So uh, keep it up. And I think, yeah, some issues with scale, some issues with like actually things being a little too tight, a little close. I think your use of fonts or text styles is much better with this project. See, like right up here, you're kind of a little close to that little, the bump. Yeah, so it's the things that it's those small things that when you put into a mock or a case study, you know, you want to make sure you have like perfected before you kind of show it like this. But if it was a work in progress, say, I'd be like, oh yeah, let's look at it. So project like this, make sure you throw it in Discord before you put it into Behance. We can give you tips.
Yeah.
Cool. Do you want to go to the next one?
Yeah. I think one thing too, with this stuff is like really think through the colors, and consistency in terms of like what you're creating. So something I would encourage you to take a look at with, and I think you did a really good job in this one in particular, is yes, there's psychology, and orange isn't a bad color here because it's going to make you, more in the hungry space or feel some urgency. But when you're working with things like photography or with music, again, anytime I see photo and video apps, I want them to have very minimal use of color. So if you go back to the music app, there's like, it's super branded with this purple color, and it is distracting from music and video TV. They've got beautiful artwork, so you generally either want it to be like purely light UI or purely dark UI with very like letting the artwork speak for itself, or with food apps, letting the food entice you when you have to kind of cover it with gradients to show type on top of it or incorporate a lot of color. It detracts from those things. So I would say keep things a little bit more minimalistic. And I know I'm doing a music player next week on the stream, and you'll see in my mood board the stuff that I've grabbed and gravitated towards is very simple, because we want it all eyes to be on the artwork. If you remember Artio back in the day, probably the coolest music discovery and kind of like Spotify competitor, RIP. They did a beautiful job with that. And I personally found my music discovery was at the highest because I would just scout around and be like, oh, this artwork looks cool. I'm going to go check this album out. And it felt like flipping around in a record shop. So think about that. When you go purple here, you're now kind of, what if somebody just doesn't resonate with that color and the app doesn't feel like it's for them? Like, put it more around the content. And then also here is, this is small stuff, but like, I'd like to see more grid structure. So when I come in here, I'll annotate. I see a line there, but then I can't draw evenly. The type and the item is different, and then here this item goes up, but then this one is here. Like, I want it to be in more of a proper grid, even if it's like a third, or half. But those are small details. Same thing, what device is this for? Because on iOS, I think it's like 9 or 11 pixels from the bottom is going to be that little home indicator bar. So all of these things need to move up just a scotch, and you want to account for that kind of stuff. So those are small details, but things that I would look for if I was hiring somebody that would tell me what their experience level is and maybe how much time I need to spend with them. And if we're looking for a senior level person, it's those small things that are going to make a big difference. So definitely stuff to pay attention to.
Mm-hmm. I agree. A really good point around food and music apps, right? If you eat with your eyes first, literally with food apps and with like also music, right? You're showcasing something. And so it's a really good point of, this is where an app styling or a product styling it's almost
Yeah.
You want less,
Right.
and you're showcasing. So
Yeah.
really, really awesome point. I agree, and I agree wholeheartedly with the more of a grid structure. It makes a difference. Okay, let's go.
Yeah, let's jump over. We've got about 13 minutes left on today's stream, so let's pick a couple of these projects and dive in.
Great, we're doing great. Great at the timing. Awesome. It's almost like you've done this before.
I know because I think my last stream, Evan and I were on, and it was like, okay, everybody, we're gonna squeeze in, but and then it like cut halfway through. So we won't make that mistake again.
So, okay, all right, alrighty. Let's go with. I like going down below first. Well, hold on. Is there one that you're drawn to? I don't want to.
I would say maybe the top three
Okay.
are really interesting because I feel like I'm starting to see like a composition change. Like this is a little bit cleaner than some of the older projects. So
You're
definitely
absolutely right.
seeing some growth there.
Yeah. So this is a looks like a landing page for
Hmm.
shoes. This is about all it is. Very cool.
I'd love to see more though. Like you said, I don't know what this project is. It just feels like a quick, like 30-minute warm up kind of project. And then, I'm looking at this and it's like, all right, big chunky type with the Puma stuff. And then we get into this like really light, but really large text. And it feels out of place. I'd love for this to be like 14-point bold, maybe tucked over here to the right side, because that would feel like the rest of this is in focus. I feel like right now there's items going on everywhere where it's like I have to look center top, but then the shoes right there. It looks like Usain Bolt in the background. By now, in the like, I'm literally being pulled in this direction, this direction, this direction, this direction, this direction, and this direction. So like visual hierarchy, I want to see more balance here. And then take me through a little bit more of the site, not just like the hero section.
I agree. I mean, I think you got it all. I agree. I think at the but to give our let's see what's our person's name here. Uh, Chitap to give Chitap some credit. I really do think generally yes, absolutely. You're bringing us all over the place. Everything Peter said is true.
Yeah, like it's so close to being really fantastic.
That's the thing.
If you spent
Yeah.
like 30 minutes making a couple of changes, this could be really stellar. And it's one of those things like I can see the talent and possibility from someone, but I want a little bit more refinement to take it kind of all the way.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's like so there. You with the tone you're setting, the colors you're using, the choice of having like the darker background, showcasing the shoe in a certain way. You're on brand for this type of style. Just that level up, that all the things. On top of that's all you're kind of giving us. So it would be really cool to see this as a case study.
Yeah.
We can get into that more if the next one is similar, but like let's give them the benefit of the doubt. Oh, here you go. Cool.
Okay.
Oh, so this is the okay. So it's like a full.
I feel like it's a little all over like case study, not. I know what you mean. It feels like at times like it's a website
Yeah,
and then it's not.
yeah. I almost it's like I got tricked halfway through. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, it's a case. No, it's not. It's a website. um, interesting stuff. Okay. First off, I guess that's the biggest critique we can give you is we're not really sure what you're making here. Is it an app? Is it a website? Is it a brand? Like it also
Hmm.
has like vibes around that because you're doing mock-ups like on a sign.
Yeah.
Um, maybe it's all of them. Maybe you just were like, I'm gonna do all of it, and that's fine too. Um, but I guess we can look at it as if it were maybe this app screen. Maybe this app screen lives in this gym. Who knows?
Yeah. I think it's showing different parts of the project, but it's not doing it in a way that's walking me through like here's what we did for branding and then here's our design system and here's the mobile app and it's like the first logo lockup is just kind of I don't yeah, it's like a mark in the text. And then we get in later and I think it had like it was inside of barbells. And then on the mock-up, like this is one of those where make sure you're utilizing the mock-up with the Photoshop actions because I can tell the skew and perspective on this is off. Like it just puts straight on to something that is angled, so it doesn't look as dialed in as it should be. And then it was kind of weird, like, oh, here's a footer. um, that stuff feels a little odd. Like I would want to see the site itself as a whole and not be
It
part
does.
of it.
It does. Yeah. So biggest critique is that in terms of presentation. Um, and then in terms of like, in terms of the UI here, it looks like we have a couple issues with, yeah, like with scale again. We have these barbell rating system. As creative as I think it is, and I think it is very creative, I can't really see them, and
Yeah.
nor do I kind of know what they are.
The contrast is off. Like I would rather these be white over here or something to really be seen, but it like really blends in, and that's something, for anyone, definitely get familiar with accessible design, and you could just search like WCAG color contrast checker or something, and you need certain levels of color contrast to pass accessibility standards. And this is one of those that, like, if you put this color of the black on top of whatever this is right here, it's not going to pass. And so not only may somebody with a visual impairment not be able to see that, but it's just generally difficult to see and read. So you want that stuff to be, a lot easier to go through.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah, legibility is a little bit off. The other thing is like it's a kettlebell. It's a kettlebell. Really check and make sure other people can look at this and know that is a kettlebell. I only know because I know, but it's very specific to a gym, but maybe like a weight versus turning like outlines for icons. It's really easy to confuse people. So they're accustomed to seeing a certain thing. It's stars. Obviously, like a rating system normally would have stars. But you being creative and it's awesome. It kind of definitely messes with my mind a little. I like when things mess with my mind a little, but not too distracting that I don't know what it is. Okay, let's go to shoppers. Well, a lot of green right off the bat.
Yeah, I think that's where, with projects, like varying that color a little bit so that way when it's used it has more impact.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, okay. I see you're jumping from an illustration kind of illustration to photos because you're showcasing clothing. I'd say then stick with photos. You have some really cool imagery happening. I get this is really cool and it works really well with what you're trying to describe, but you might not need it if your focus is actual human faces.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you want to do this, stay within that. So that, yeah, I'm having a little bit like contextually different vibes going on. And deals of the day. This background deal of the day, this like faded word phrase, little bit hard to see and a little distracting. I almost think like your titles would hit better without them. And there's and then a font. So yeah, and also this font's a little hard to read. So a lot of things happening here.
Yeah, and while we go on this, we've got 5 minutes left. So if anybody has any additional questions in chat, make sure to ask them now. But we'll keep going with this in the meantime.
Yes. Everyone ask the questions. I'm also on Discord. Shout me out if you want to message me. I'm on there normally all the time. So let me. If you have a question.
And maybe Val, if you can share some of Alexis's social stuff as well, so everyone can go follow her. And you can click on either of our names in the Behance chat too, and go to our profiles and see some of our work, and follow as well, and see what we're posting on social. We post tips and tricks and full articles all the time.
I haven't chatted at Voodoo Val. Voodoo Val is in the chat.
Voodoo Val is our rockstar moderator today.
I feel so honored. This is the other thing. I'm going to bring the chat up tomorrow because I love seeing Voodoo Val's like comments and like just praise and shout out throughout the stream. So it really helps. Yeah, so you have a lot of like mixed imagery happening with the photos, with your illustration kind of style, with these bubbles. I can kind of see. So I think you have some work to do around that. Obviously, your greens, you're using 2 different hues of green and kind of using it as a gradient as well. I think gradients are tricky. So before you dive into gradients, I love when people attempt and try their best with them. Just try just sticking with a solid color before you get into grade. It's like level 2 of color theory is gradients, right? Um, so maybe yeah, bring down the gradients. Maybe it'll help, right?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of inconsistency kind of going on. Um,
Well, I think going back to kind of the photo video thing, there's so much use of color that it is detracting potentially from the images. And what if somebody's wearing a color that doesn't go or pair well with green? It now is conflicting. And so that's why generally you see with like fashion as well, it's light or dark. It's all white, it's all black, or somewhere, along those lines. Because the focus is, hey, if there's a brand color like Supreme, it's probably going to be all white with the red accents, and they're smaller accents, but they still want the photography and whatnot to be the main draw of stuff, and not have all these other various colors or gradients detracting away from that.
mm-hmm. I agree. I agree. It's a good point. It's also, yeah, we're showcasing clothing here.
Yep.
Not all of these clothes are gonna go with the screen. Last thing I guess to note is seeing some a little bit of lorem ipsum, which is, I know it's hard to come up with blocks of text, but it's a part of the job. It really is. I can't tell you how many designer friends I have that still struggle with writing. And to be fair, there are professionals that write for you. There are like UX writers that's their whole job. But it's a really good skill to have, because we're not only designing apps, we're also trying to justify our products. And so maybe we'll have a presentation, or we need
Yep.
to like have down something, or research where someone else needs to read it. So
It's super important.
yeah, we don't like, writing doesn't go away even though we're designers. Like people
Yeah.
think we're designers, so it's like, oh, you guys are just like making stuff look cool. It's like, yeah, we're still using all like we're using math, we're using all the normal
And I'm
things.
going to transition us into that. Tomorrow, we're going to make things look cool. Thank you so much, Alexis, for joining us today. We are going to be wrapping up here in about 15 seconds. So make sure you go follow Alexis online. Voodoo Val is posting that. And stay tuned for the DDCs coming up next. And everybody have a great day.